Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nuuli Forged. Welcome to 2022. Welcome to January. Welcome to Tanner's glorious face. And welcome to Ives Got It in chat. So good to see you. Big thanks to Ralphie Codes who followed us while we were on our sabbatical. So that's nice. Always appreciate a good follow.
Nice.
As you can see, we are down one member for a bit tonight. Amber will be joining us a little bit later. And Matt is getting married in Colombia. So he's unavailable for a little while. And we wish him nothing but the best and all the love. And I'm making that statement because I'm just usurping everybody's prerogative.
Woo, marriage.
Well, for him. I'm not saying it's a blanket good idea for everybody. I'm saying it works. It's what he wants. It's what he and his fiance, future wife want. So good.
Woo, visiting foreign countries.
Yeah,
there is that. But yeah. So let's give everybody a little intro back into our players and our characters. And let's tell everybody what your character smells like. Like, everybody has like a smell that they exude. Like, oh, he always smells like leather and Old Spice or something like that.
Old Spice.
Yeah, you know.
I hate it.
I know you do.
It's better than that.
Actually, before that, so I'm giving you a minute to think about it. Before that, if you are new to the channel, you may not know this, but we have recently updated some emotes and some follower channel points things. So if you check on your Nuuli points down there underneath your chat bar, you might find some interesting options that you can partake of.
Yeah?
It is possible for such things to occur. But anyway.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, so there's a couple cool little options down there that watchers may choose to partake of. Cast members are more than welcome to use them as well, but I will ignore them from you. So,
fair.
But yeah,
I mostly just logged in to see what they were. Since you're making a big
there's a
deal
couple
about
of
them.
them.
Like, hey,
it's something new that we're trying out, so it'll be great.
yeah.
Cool. So that all being said, now let's hop over to introductions. So your character, your name, and what kind of smell you associate with your character or that you imagine your character gives off. And we'll start up in this corner with Olive, with Sarah.
Oh, hey, a corner now. Oh my God, I've never been in the corner.
Yeah, we're in a 4-person rotation now, so here we are.
Who puts Olive in the corner? Hi, I'm Sarah, and I play
Olive,
who is a half-orc moon druid. And she pretty much always smells like that horrible incense that nobody else likes.
All right. Fair.
You give her a thing like incense nobody likes, that's pretty much what she's going to smell like.
Hey, I respect that. Hopping down, into this corner, we have the visible Tanner.
Hi, I'm Tanner. I'm a bit laggy tonight. I play Adis, the human ranger. And smell? I don't fucking know. We're adventuring. I don't assume that we actually smell good.
Hey, maybe
blood, sweat, and tears.
All right, that's fair. You know, I don't know. Maybe Adis smells like pine needles. I don't know.
I wish there was no pine trees in the glimmering void.
I mean, I'm giving you the option of what you smell like, so you tell me.
It's the beauty of
I smelled like I almost died in a hole from a bullet.
All right. Blood, sweat, and tears it is.
Yeah.
The beauty of live streaming is no one can tell if you're lying.
I'm not lying. That's just...
Stay tuned for our next plugin, Smell-a-Streamin'.
Smell-a-Streamin'.
Hopping on up over to this corner, we got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mike.
Mike. Yes, that's me. I play Defect, Warforged Barbarian. And Defect smells like Axe body spray. Thank you and good night.
Ah, why did I give him the option? Why did I do that?
You did this to yourself, man. You
I,
did this
I
to
need
yourself.
the sad trombone noise. I need a stream deck and the sad
Wah,
trombone noise.
wah.
That's it. You're not sleeping in the tent
That was
anymore.
Clever.
Speaking of Mike,
Very
though,
exciting.
big shout out. Dr. Ape has followed us. Welcome, Dr. Ape, to Nuuli Forged. Much appreciated. Thank you for the follow. Hope you enjoy your time here. But speaking of Mike, Mike happened to gift me a little Christmas present this past holiday season that I will now share with you all.
Ooh.
It's our own tavern sign.
That's cute.
Schmancy.
Isn't that adorable? It's got our logo and our first air date on there.
Aw.
Aw.
Oh, and that's special.
Better in person. Guys gotta see it.
It actually is really cool. The distress work on it is amazing.
Yeah, it's a little out of focus on your camera. It kept wanting to go ee.
Oh, I'm sure. But Nerdwood Designs is the craftsperson who made this. So shout out to Nerdwood Designs. It's beautiful and I love it. So thank you and thank Mike. Now, let's get into a little recap because it's been a couple weeks. It's been a while, so let's do that.
Uh-huh.
Last time here on Nuuli Forged, our heroes hired Chatty, the half-elven fixer of the Verdenton Glen, to give them a little bit of a crash course on Elvish culture, and to arrange a meeting with an influential clerk in the trade emporium of Ethal Fen. Using some musicians as an in, Chatty managed to introduce the group to Pulses Kimarani, and managing to just barely avoid a social faux pas, had a successful conversation with them, arranging an appointment 2 days from that evening. A little bit later, the group was talking amongst themselves and met Paduk Quickling, a little sprite in the service of the Sprite Guard, who was very interested and curious about the far-off places the party had seen and been to. The night before their scheduled meeting, Spoot received a vision from the silver woman he had seen so often in his dreams, and she urged him to travel eastwards immediately, as the Horizon Walker, his deity, had given Spoot a task and would guide him on said journey. Spoot, reluctantly but dutifully, arose before his friends and left them a quick note, and followed a cloaked, barefooted vision into the early morning darkness.
And there goes our diplomat.
Not too much.
Okay.
Not too much later, you all awaken on yourselves, or by yourselves, in your tent. And Adis, you immediately notice that there is no Spoot, and that there is a note left on his pillow.
I read the note.
Very hastily scrawled, it's, "Sorry, I had to go. I'll contact you. Good luck, Spoot." And there's a little turtle heart emoji.
What's an emoji? Oh no. The cleric's gone.
Yeah.
Dress just goes. I look around. Is everybody still sleeping?
Everybody's like in the process of waking up at this point in time. It seems that Spoot arose earlier than the rest of you.
Did anybody notice Spoot leave?
Spoot's gone?
Spoot's gone.
Nope.
No.
Olive sleeps real heavy.
That has been established as canon.
Yeah, that is. Even when one of us are running Olive, she still sleeps heavily. That's
Yeah, there. His backpack is gone. All of his stuff is missing. He just left this note.
Did he leave me a diamond?
you did leave diamonds, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he left a little bag that that had his diamonds, or the group diamonds in it, because they were in a separate pouch.
Okay. But it's just, is it just one? Is it multiple diamonds?
I believe it is 2, but I will double check that.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
2 or 3. I can't remember. But they're the 300 gold piece for revivification.
Yes.
Yes, they are Revivify diamonds.
Yes, which is why I'm taking possession of them, as I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who can cast that.
Yes.
Now that Spoot's gone.
That's fair. Yeah, he had 2 that he left in a little baggie next to the
Okay.
note.
They are now in my backpack.
Yep, you can add them to your inventory. That's fine.
Well, I hope he's gonna be okay. He's a little.
He's a strong warrior. He'll come back to us.
Yeah, but did he have to go back through the void by himself?
I hope he took a different path.
I hope so.
I'm sure his god wouldn't send him back there. That'd just be cruel.
Yeah, the void is no joke.
No. R.I.P. my draft horses and my carriage. I shouldn't have tried to get nice things.
But hey, what's their name? Got to make some butterfly friends.
We forgot.
Wow.
Already.
Greg made a whole swarm of butterfly friends.
Oh yes, the fake butterflies.
Yes.
Yes. And we turned invisible several times. And you were screaming.
Yeah, that happens.
More than usual. Well, where are we going? We're going to...
We're not going anywhere. We are in the Verdenton Glen, and we're supposed to meet with elves who are hard to talk to.
Yes. I can't remember if we're supposed to go to the tavern first or the...
Yeah, so as a reminder, this is the morning where you have your meeting set up with Pulses Kimarani, who is the clerk who you were quickly, quote-unquote, introduced to the other night, as much as these elves tend to do anything quickly. But yeah, this morning is when you have your meeting, and
are we meeting about anything in particular? Anyone remember?
Well, we have questions and stuff we want to learn, but we have to earn their favor first.
Right.
It's true.
Okay, cool.
Well, let's do it. Let's pack up and go.
Yeah. So
Greg says the magic words.
Yeah. Greg
No,
says something in Dragonish, and
Right, exactly. So you all make your way over towards the trading emporium, which you know is called Ethal Fen. And it is a massive, seemingly massive, towering tree that has branches growing up around it from other trees, kind of encircling it. And there seem to be windows and balconies growing out of the tree itself, and there's a hollow in the tree. And it hasn't been like carved and hollowed out. It's a living tree from what you can tell, Olive.
cool.
You can tell that. You're druidy enough. You can figure that out.
I've been a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I know trees.
But
I hope so.
indeed, you approach and you can see that there are a couple of different entrances. There's one big one and then 2 smaller ones off to either side, and it seems that most of the traffic is going through the main entrance, which seems to be mostly non-elven folk, as they are presumably going in to deal with whatever their business is.
Is there any signage?
There is a sign above the big door that says petitioner's entrance.
I assume we're petitioning.
It says it in Elvish, so if you can't read Elvish, then you can't read that.
Yeah.
Spoot was the only one.
Oh,
Really? Was Spoot the only one who can read? Nobody else speaks Elvish?
No.
Nope.
Cool. So it says garbage, is what it says.
it says something over the door.
I think.
Cool.
I mean, I speak Sylvan, so I use the same alphabet, but it's not the same words.
Yeah,
So I probably get a different translation.
yeah. As far
Cool.
as far as you can tell, it says underpants Captain Kangaroo, and that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea.
Should we just follow everyone else?
I'm guessing.
Surely there'll be like an info booth or someone stationed at the door or something who can point us in the right direction. If we don't ask them politely,
We're supposed to ask.
we're not supposed to ask any questions.
We're not supposed to ask direct questions.
Correct.
We have to beat around the bush.
Yes.
And Tanner fucking hates it.
Yep.
Understandable. You're a human. What do you expect?
All right. So
Yeah.
we join the crowd headed for the big door.
Yeah. You go in. Nobody stops you. When you enter, you can see that it is like a large, resplendent, kind of very comfortable, welcoming environment inside. It's not like, bars and cages or like that kind of a clerk's office. It's more like a very welcoming lounge. This first area that you are in is closed off. There are doors that lead off to other areas. And there are a few elves that seem to be dealing with people as they come in. One of them approaches you. I see you, travelers.
I see you.
I see you.
It would be helpful if individuals who arrived this morning were able to convey the purpose of their visit.
We have an appointment. It would be helpful if someone could point us in the direction of Pulses Kimarani's location.
Well, if I may, I am Glorieth, and I will be able to direct you to Kimarani. It would behoove
Thank you.
you to follow me. And they kind of turn around and begin walking towards one of the doorways.
Follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lead you through this doorway and this structure, which all of you can feel the life radiating off of this strange tree building. And they just kind of move their way through a couple of doorways down a hallway until you are brought to a singular office doorway upon which the elf knocks. And then you hear, "Whoever is there may enter." To which it does, and you hear a conversation in Elvish, which none of you understand.
Why did I not take such a basic language?
This short conversation takes about 5 minutes.
Carolee spoke Elvish. She's dead.
She's dead.
I could have taken Elvish, but I took deep speech because that's useful.
Super useful.
Oh, come
Yeah.
up eventually.
Right? One
One
time.
of these
Just
days.
once.
Yeah. Well, after this conversation, the elf who led you this way, they turn to you. "You are expected," and kind of just bows their head to you and indicates that you should enter.
Bow back on our way in.
So the elf closes the door behind you as you all enter, and you see the familiar individual of Pulses Kimarani. You see that they are roughly like average human height, even though they are an elf. Uh, very slim with short black hair and slightly paler skin. But they rise and bow. I see you, misfits.
And I see you.
And we see you, and bow in return.
It would do my heart well if you were to take seating of your own choice. And you see that there are like 7 seats that are kind of available, like different places and different styles. They seem to be indicating that you should make yourselves comfortable.
Thank you.
Sit down. Yeah.
Sit.
Great.
Choose a seat.
I do hope that you all have had adequate sustenance this morning.
Breakfast was usual. A lovely morning, though, however. A lot less, treacherous than the Glimmering Void.
Oh, I can properly imagine. It has been said that you have traveled through the dangerous area very recently.
That is true.
One would be quite interested to hear those stories at some point.
Oh god, it would take so long in this, like, roundabout way to speak to tell those stories. Like, hot damn. I am sure one of us could regale you at some point.
Could certainly be arranged. Whenever it is convenient.
These are good tidings and very pleasant to hear. It is nice to have a conversation with foreigners who understand the basics of etiquette.
We try.
It is not the easiest way, but
Well,
I mean,
all children must learn to walk before they run.
yes.
Our mutual friend Chatty has informed me that there are certain... And they kind of search for a word, and like you can tell they're searching for a word in common. Certain answers. And the way they say answers, like, leaves a sour taste in their mouth. Like, you can tell they didn't like the word. That are being sought by this intrepid group. I must say, I do notice that one of you who I have met is not here.
He has gone upon a spiritual quest.
He has been summoned by his deity.
Such things do happen from time to time. I do hope that he will be well.
We as well.
As do we. We are, it is true, we are here in search of bettering ourselves and educating ourselves in some of the history surrounding this area.
And hopefully the lost history over the past missed 1,000 years.
Ah, the Verdentian Glen, indeed, the Verdentious Causeway itself, has weathered the storms of the past 1,000 years through pure strength of will.
Ah,
If one were to desire further information, one would be best suited for a interview with the Minister of the Informational Office, which can be acquired through proper channels.
that would be greatly appreciated.
That would greatly help us in our quest for further enlightenment.
I hate this.
If enlightenment is what you seek, it would be beneficial to know what form of enlightenment one was looking for.
Okay. I'm gonna give this a shot. That was Tanner speaking. It would be great to know of if there's any knowledge that has been lost, found, anything. For I myself am part of the Lost Fey Wardens, and am trying to find answers. We have come across some that have led us to only more questions.
Questions are a unfortunate side effect of life for many people. Understandably, if you are indeed from this Feywarden caste, who I am not familiar with, I can understand a desire to learn more of their fate.
And we were visited last night by one of two of your Sylvan guards, and or Fey guard.
Sprite guard.
What?
Sprite guard.
Sprite guard. That's the word. We were visited by two of your Sprite guard last night, who seem to have heard of my people.
Yes, the Sprite Guard are long-lived and long-memoried. Especially some of them who have chosen to be around for quite some time. Which is understandable given their nature. They are prone to excitement and interest in new things, but they are very dutiful.
Yes, I'm well aware of that, having been raised in the borders of the Feywilds.
Ah, how very interesting. It would be interesting to hear more of this story at some point. But I understand that your time is not elven time, and as such you must do things in a way more expedited than civilized society would prefer. Therefore, given your acceptance of elven customs and politeness, I believe it would be possible to arrange a meeting for you in 3 days with the head of the Emporium, Halmatha Euristus.
Mm-hmm. That would be quite an honor.
Halmatha is quite a capable individual, and she runs very tight ship. It is said that she oversees each and every petition from outsiders, from foreigners such as yourselves, and she decides the best way to facilitate their requests.
We should be most grateful for any assistance in that endeavor.
Very well. And they look to their desk and they seem to write out a few things on a piece of parchment, which they then hand over to your direction. You open it, whoever takes it, you open it, it is a letter of, essentially it's like a letter of introduction or a meeting receipt to meet with this head of the Emporium.
It's a referral for a specialist.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, since such things have been procured, it would be my great honor to provide you with some very delectable tea.
I love tea.
Such things are able to be drunk by those of your ilk. And she kind of looks towards Defect when they kind of look towards Defect when they say that.
Does Defect feel like it would be rude if he doesn't drink tea?
You have been told that these people are very like sticklery about like protocol and such, but it also does seem like they are inquiring as to your capability to do so.
Effect in a very, because he doesn't want to like mess this up. That's why he's kind of been quiet, but in a very like panicky sort of way. He's like, yes, I would care for some lovely tea if tea could be provided to me.
Ooh.
Oh, good job.
They smile a little bit. Then tea shall be prepared. It would serve you well to make yourself comfortable. And they indicate that you should help yourself to the various settings. You see that there's a little like area off on one side where some of the chairs are set around a small table, and it looks kind of like a little nook as opposed to the more like direct office area, like by their desk. And they rise and head over that way and set up a little like 3-rod tripod brazier kind of deal, which came from like nowhere. You don't know where they produced it. It's just suddenly there. And with a quick flick of their wrist, set it up and light a little fire, a little baby fire, which has some very appealing aroma to it. Whatever they're, you don't know if it's apple wood or what, but it's got a nice aroma to it already. They then take what is the most beautiful porcelain teapot you have ever seen in your life, place it over the fire, and begin brewing tea for you. They continue like a very banal kind of chit chat about the weather this morning, just talking about like the density of the clouds and how much sunlight has come through. And it's a very like, yeah, it's sunny out, but it's a very much more than that. Like it seems to be a point of like almost obsessive interest to all of you.
Olive will join them in the little nook and make some polite noise about how lovely their tea set is.
Thank you for your compliment. This tea set is one of 3 that was created by my third cousin 300 years ago. They felt it was
older than all of us.
They felt it was the highest form of their art and since retired.
They are clearly quite an accomplished artist.
So this is true. Often they have been praised for their various pursuits. They are now investigating sculpture and have been since perfecting this particular tea set.
One would be interested in viewing such sculpture if it was available.
Unfortunately, they feel that the artwork has not yet gotten to a point for public display.
That is fair. I look forward to the day when it is on display.
As do we all.
If we lived long enough.
Hey, welcome to Long-Lived Elves. So indeed, the tea is prepared and served, and they seem to be very deliberate in their actions of pouring the cups and passing them out. Like all the movements are identical. And they indicate that you should all take the first sip yourselves. And when you do so, you taste a tea that is like appley and grassy.
Ooh.
How pleasant that is or not is up to you, but they seem to enjoy it.
I'm sure it's good.
I think this is delightful. And refreshing.
They launch into a full discussion about the tea and how long they spent finding the right blend, consulting with a tea master. And about 4 hours later, your appointment ends. And they see you off. There is an individual waiting to guide you back to the front of the office, and you are shown out, and you leave the Emporium. But you have an appointment in 3 days, which is good.
All right.
In Goblin, because assuming that's probably like the least spoken language around here, Adis turns to Olive and is like, "That was lengthy."
We drank a lot of tea. I think we should find the latrines.
That too, but also a drink. Because my brain is fried.
Of not tea.
Yes.
Yeah, you can totally. You know where the inn is, so you can head.
I was
there.
gonna say there's a tavern around here somewhere.
Oh, we're surrounded by trees.
No, there was a tavern. I wrote down a thing about a tavern.
Yeah. Do
Yep.
you think it'd be disrespectful for me to pee on a tree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably like the one place I shouldn't.
Yes. There's the hopeful reside, and Bongo is the bartender. I took notes.
Yeah.
More than I do.
Yeah.
You make your way there, and indeed, the large, burly, bearded Bongo is there.
Cool. Can you point us to the privies? Because we drank a lot of tea.
He does so. After you run off and take care of various things, he's happy to provide you with food, ale, whatever you want. It's up to you what you want to do. Do you want to like what do you want to do?
You mean
We
for
have-
the next 3 days?
We have 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the Emporium is not something we can visit without an appointment. It's not like there's browsing or anything there.
Yeah.
Despite it being a marketplace, like it's not like going into a shop.
No, you did notice that there are like stalls and things set up that some of the traders run. But there's no like elvenware shop that you noticed.
Not that we could
So
afford anything at the Elvenware anyway.
No elven tchotchkes?
No, they do not have a souvenir shop.
Damn. I visited the Verdant Glare.
And all I got was this
Bump.
lousy 300-year-old master-crafted piece of pottery.
Teacup!
Yeah.
I was thinking a bumper sticker for the cart you burned.
That would be helpful if we still had a cart, but we don't.
Yeah.
Stick it on Spoot's shell when he gets back.
Right.
Yeah.
Spoot will just be covered in bumper stickers.
Yeah. You can use these 3 days to gather information, get to know people, restock on supplies, kind of whatever you would be interested in.
Does Defect need to be entertained?
No.
Okay.
Actually, it looks like we are getting.
have
Remember
an
the last
image.
time we had to be
Greg.
the last time we were kind of like cooped up, I had to spar with Defect so he didn't destroy the
Yeah.
house.
Right.
But we were cooped up in a house. I mean, now at least we can walk
There's-
around.
Okay.
Just not near the trees.
Right.
So in the in the absence of our cleric, I in theory am also proficient in herbalism and perhaps could attempt to make healing potions.
We need the ingredients.
Yep, that is accurate. I have an herbalism kit, but assuming there are some more specific ingredients that we would have to shop for.
Yeah, you would need to spend, if you can find it, there's approximately 25 gold worth of materials to buy, and then you need to spend an entire day brewing one potion.
The thought was that we have the time
Yeah.
to do at least one or two.
Hello, Amber.
Hi, Amber. This
Greg.
seems like the sort of place where those ingredients might not be difficult to come by. Don't know.
It's hard to know.
Feywild potions. What could happen?
But yeah, just thinking ahead, I have the ability. I also have no gold, so I'm not buying any ingredients.
Do you need money?
But if the party would like me to attempt such a thing,
I'll give you 100. I'll give you 100 gold.
I do have the proficiency.
Here's 100 gold. Try to find stuff for potions.
I will attempt to find some things for potions.
Yeah. You can make an investigation roll.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No, I can't.
You got to look for these things. So.
Nope. I don't find shit.
With a 4, you spend the better part of a day, like the entirety of the day, going around people, and nobody seems to be like selling apothecary supplies of any sort. It's mostly like leftover bits of lumber or stuff that they were trying to sell off to the elves and were unsuccessful with, or stuff like that. Nobody's really like set up like a herbalism shop or anything.
That was a nice try.
Yep. But hello, Amber. How are you tonight? Nice to see you.
We can't hear you.
You're muted.
Oh, you seem to be muted.
What was that? What?
No.
I can't hear you.
Well, hopefully you can figure out the unmute.
We can see you, and we can see you in roll 20, so you could, in theory, type things to us.
For now.
Well, while Amber sorts out her her headset, while Olive is off, is there anything else anybody else wants to do?
Oop.
Amber.
I mean, I don't know if I could use it, but to practice the trick shot, because it's not enough time.
Yeah, that's done in like weeks. So
okay.
Just mechanic wise, like spending a day doing it doesn't do too much. I
could, if Defect indulges me, occasionally practice more with my, like, double-headed spear thing. Get more practice.
Help and assist.
Yeah, you can spend your 2 days doing that.
Training ever.
What?
The most brutal training ever that you go through.
Adis dies again. I'm bleeding out in a hole.
Right.
You might have wanted to wait to do that until I found the healing potion ingredients. Just saying.
We have other I have good berries. we always have good berries.
Yes.
Just be very full afterwards.
Yep. Do we have you now, Amber?
Nope.
No. Sad times. Maybe just the battery's down or the power's off. Who knows? But glorious. So essentially, you spend these 2 days doing that. There's not much else to accomplish otherwise. So after 3 days, you have your appointment back at the Emporium with Halmatha Euristus. I should really learn how to say these names that I create.
Yeah. Not a terrible idea.
Funny, when I create them, I say them, but then when I say them later on, I stumble over them.
All right. So we have an appointment with someone we have to be even more polite to. That's probably going to mean another several hours of tea drinking.
Likely. You are visited over the course of these few days by Paduk some more, so he seems to be building up a little friendship with you.
Paduk is the little sprite?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a lieutenant in the Quick Wing.
well, his last name is
You're a
Quickwing.
lieutenant in the Quick Wing.
Hey, we
Ah.
got you, Amber.
There you go. It's from that
What?
time that I used that mic that doesn't have a mute button on it. Thank you.
Oh, so it was push to
Dylan.
talk?
It was push to
Okay.
talk. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tanner.
Ah, glorious.
That'll get you every time.
Like, it senses my mic. What's happening?
Cool. All right. So Lieutenant Quickwing is a lieutenant in the Sprite Guard, and his first name is Paduk.
Correct.
All makes sense. Cool.
And was it Greg that regaled him in our glorious adventures?
Indeed, it was.
Probably.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
possibly.
I think I left that to Greg.
yeah, indeed. Greg was the one who told them the story of all their stuff that they had done, because Paduk was very interested in such things.
I will inquire if Paduk knows of any apothecary supplies in the area. Perhaps he might,
He does not.
You don't have to be formal with Paduk.
No.
Yeah.
They just normal.
Well, this is why I'm asking him a question.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
That's
do you know
okay.
where I can get this shit?
But you're like, I inquired. I was like, you don't have to be
Yeah.
formal.
Yeah. Yeah, Paduk.
At it.
He's not someone who makes such things, so he doesn't know
No.
where you would find them.
Fair. It was worth asking the only person we can ask a direct question in this place.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other people around. There's Chatty is around, who also checks in on you to see how your meeting with Polses went. There's also, Bongo and his partner. So there's people around.
Checking up on the new coming weirdos, the misfits.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Hey guys, what are we trying to find out from Halamatha, specifically? I know we can't ask her any specific questions, but
Because someone told us that they had a way to track, that they were tracking the spell storms, that they somehow kept them out of the Verdenting Glen and from destroying things. And then just any lost history possibly that related to the wardens and their disappearances, like Adis's. If they have any records of any of that.
I feel like if we're talking about history, apparently they're really into poetry and literature, and perhaps visiting it as an art might get us further. Of oh, we wish to know more about this storytelling.
Tanner's not an artist. There's not a bone in my body that is capable of poetry.
Oh no, we're not generating any poetry. I just meant if we...
Defect can, if he needs to.
Yes. I just meant in terms of phrasing our requests in the sense of seeking the art of storytelling.
Amber, it's an exclamation point.
I figured that out after a second.
I mean, you can try.
I
Just be
will
roundabout.
also remind you all that you were originally sent this way based on information from Meridian, the green-cloaked individual.
Who's not a frog.
No, he's not a frog. He introduced himself as a fey being.
Yes.
Who likes to check in from time to time and has a very long-term view of things, and gave you a ominous warning about storm clouds and shadows and whatnot, and also suggested that if whatever this shadow is going after artifacts that contain fragments of the shards, you might want to do so as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the important bit, are the shards trackable?
And then pointed you in this direction.
Yeah, that's the important
bit.
bit.
The elves might know a few things that you might find useful.
Yeah, we want to know if how the shards are trackable, or if they're trackable. Because
well, if they fall in areas where there were storms, maybe the elves paid attention over the years. Someone was studying them. Someone has to have been studying this shit. If over 1,000 years.
Because we want to know if anyone's tracking our yellow shard, And B, we want to know if we can find more shards.
Our yellow shard? The red shard
Wait,
that we have.
red shard, sorry. The red shard that we had and the yellow one that Fluxus lost.
Mm-hmm.
And if those are if that's a thing that people track or if that was a coincidence.
Right.
Cool. This is going to go great.
Yeah.
All right. So you show up at the Emporium. You present your little letter of admittance, and you are shown to an office with a balcony up on one of the higher levels of the Emporium. And inside there is an elven woman who is quite short and delicately thin. She has long, shiny brown hair that seems to glisten a little bit in the light. A very kind of delicate-looking nut brown skin with bright green eyes. And she bows as you enter. I see you, Defect, Olive, Greg, Atis.
I see you.
And I see you.
I see you. God, what was this lady's name again?
Halmatha Aristus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Where's my notes? There they are.
The view from your balcony is quite excellent in this weather.
I thank you for noticing. I too enjoy the weather on this day. It is quite beautiful out. It would do my heart well for you to make yourselves comfortable and be seated wherever you would wish to. And they indicate an office with. She has a very large office, and she's got 6 chairs, 3 on either side of this little aisle, right in front of her desk.
We sit, or I sit. I don't know what the rest of y'all are doing, but Olive's going to sit her butt down.
Make it fair.
You all kind of take seats. I was just about to prepare some mid-morning tea. It would do my heart well to provide you with some, if it was something palatable to you.
That would be delightful. We enjoy all types of tea.
A true palate is varied and discerning. And she kind of rings a little bell, and in on a little trolley comes a very elaborate tea service, which is not boiling and bubbling and ready or whatever. She
Oh no.
quickly does the whole ceremonial thing of making the tea and pouring it out and all this stuff. Greg, when you say that you like honey,
Oh no.
she looks at you. Honey is an acceptable sweetener for a tea as brisk as we will be enjoying.
I look forward to expanding my tea palette with this new blend.
She goes on to describe the tea that she's preparing. It's a lot of lemon peel and grassroots and citrus kind of flavors blended with a stronger kind of bitter thing. So it's a fruity bitter. It seems to be what she describes. And then produces it. And this whole process takes, the length of time it takes to properly brew tea. So it's a good 20-30 minutes before tea is served up to y'all.
I just hear Greg's voice in my head saying, I like honey.
I like honey is more what I was thinking, because doing the statements and not making a fuss. Question mark. Except not.
No question marks.
Yep. Yeah. She provides you all with tea. It is a little bitter, but you get a sweetness after the fact. She does indicate the honey and sugar that are on the table that you are free to administer for yourselves. She simply takes one rock of sugar because it's it's not processed, so it's a little bit of a sugar clump. So she takes a little one and drops it in her tea.
Olive does exactly what she does. She is super afraid of fucking this up, and she's doing exactly as demonstrated.
Greg surreptitiously tries to take some of the rocks and stick them in a pocket.
Okay.
Not this.
Make
Sugar.
a sleight of hand check.
Sorry, folks. You know you missed me? Oh, 20.
Oh.
She doesn't notice.
I saw it though.
Yeah, Adis
Well, yes.
definitely sees it.
Yes.
Ada sees all.
Yeah.
Yes. The eyeliner of enlightenment, or whatever the heck it was called.
Yeah.
But great. So about an hour passes in casual chit chat about a variety of topics. You all do your best to kind of keep up with it. And then she puts down her cup of tea, her second cup. Puts it down and pushes it to one side of her desk. I am told that you are looking for information about a variety of subjects, including those of a long forgotten sect of humanoids that you claim to be a part of, Adis.
That would be correct. I can't do this.
Yes, we are most interested in edification and enlightenment about the history of Adis's people who have apparently vanished from the face of the earth some time ago.
Earth?
Nuuli.
Realm.
Yes, from this plane of existence.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
For all we know, they might still be somewhere. They're just not
There
here.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Dude, there's a lot of words here.
There are.
Yeah, I can't do it. My New York brain does not function like this.
She nods. There are, of course, answers to be found in a variety of locations among the Verdentious Causeway. However, the reason and what will be done with such information is thought-provoking. Beyond the obvious of desiring to locate one's extended family, which is certainly something I can understand, there are other aspects of information which could be misused.
That is a quite a fair point. We have been more or less tasked by a Fey being to look into and try to acquire more information about the storms and possibilities of shards that contain quite a bit of magical power. There has been some news that has come to him about an old cult who went by the Ibn rising again.
He was very concerned about a darkness on the land and wished us to seek out anything we could find about lifting the shadow.
He goes by the name of Meridian.
He's green.
She She looks at you.
Wrong thing to say.
This entity you have described is known here.
Oh, that doesn't sound fortunate.
No.
That entity is a bit of a weirdo and sometimes helpful, but also, yes.
I
does-
miss Greg.
He does make most excellent sandwiches.
I am pleased that I was able to provide you with excellent tea today. I look forward to hearing more of your exploits when next you return.
Oh no. Thank you most kindly for sharing your delicious tea with us.
It is a pleasure to provide eye-opening opportunities to new individuals.
We would be happy to share our stories whenever it is convenient for one to listen to them.
She nods, and the door opens.
Can I insight check her when we mentioned like Meridian and everything?
Absolutely.
We done fucked up.
It was me.
I don't know if I want to roll or take my passive. I'll roll. Well, which one would I use over the conversation? Roll or passive?
You could have used your passive over that.
I don't know if I want to roll.
It's up to you.
I'll take. My passive's a 22.
Yeah.
I'll take my passive.
All right. So over the course of the conversation, she seemed very interested in what you were, like what your purpose was. Like you could tell that she was more or less trying to gauge you. As soon as you mentioned a Fey entity, she became guarded, and as soon as you mentioned the name Meridian, you could see a look cross her face really quickly of disapproval.
Cool.
And as soon as you see that, you remember back to your conversation with Meridian, where he told you it's best if you leave my name out of it.
Oh shit!
Oopsie.
I didn't take such good notes on that day.
Yeah. Well, that was a bust.
Cool. We'll continue to make polite noises about tea as we leave.
Yep. An attendant shows you out, and you are outside of the Emporium Ethal Fen.
Cool.
And that seems like a good place for us to take a break.
Yikes. So Jared can think.
Yeah.
So, hey,
'Cause
you
we
all have
don't
to
ask
figure out
up.
what you're going to do next. That's all.
Yeah.
So, we will be back in 5 minutes. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Ape, for the follow. We will be back in just a few minutes. We'll do a little bio break, and we'll see you then. Be right back, everyone. Bye. Hello, everyone. We are back. Thanks for hanging out with us while we took a little bio break. So, diving right back into it, our heroes have pretty much just been ejected from the trade emporium of Ethal Fen for mentioning a certain Fey individual they have aligned themselves with. You find yourselves kind of out on the doorstep, people coming and going. What is your next move?
Effect is a little bit confused, so he'll look around and say, "So did we win?"
No, we definitely did not win.
Should we go back inside?
Nope.
Okay.
We have just angered these
Drown our
people.
sorrows. Head to the local tavern.
That's all we can do at this point.
Yeah.
I done fucked up.
Yeah.
Wait, why did we roll at acrobatics?
Because Defect's tripping over his own feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
no
just a random
reason.
roll.
No reason.
No reason. Just to find out what happened.
So you're heading back to the Hopeful Reside?
Yes.
That's so, yeah.
All right. So you all head that way, and it's still like early afternoon, so most of like the lunch rush has departed and is off about their business. So it's not too crowded at the moment. You kind of all take a table or a booth or whatever you want. And as you enter, Bongo kind of looks at you all and kind of nods. And almost as soon as you sit down, there's 4 glasses delivered to you by Playa, who looks at you and says, "Bongo knows that look. Sorry about it."
They're probably quite used to people having recently been ejected from the marketplace around here.
Well, Bongo was one of the first people to come up here, you know, a little while back. About 5 years ago. He had all the aspirations of the world, and I love him to death, but he's not a very good salesman. He didn't
Poor
really...
guy.
Yeah, he didn't really have enough to get back. He just had a little bit of lumber that he was hoping to use as a opening salvo to get the elves going, but selling lumber to the elves, something they definitely have a lot of, but
And
he tried.
sounds difficult to move.
It was. He pretty much had to sell everything to get up here, and well, he used the lumber and built the first bit of this place. It was just the bar with a little lean-to originally, and slowly over the last 5 years we've built this. I met him about 4 years ago, and
Seems to be at least pretty successful now.
Yeah.
it helps to be a place of commisery when the elves are very fickle.
Fair.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as we can sit
Right.
here and drink the ale without discussing all the various components and
I mean,
Details thereof.
Bongo likes his drinks, so he'll tell you what you like from it, but nothing like the elves do.
I slide my ale over to Olive.
not thirsty any longer.
I don't drink ale. My palate's more refined.
Have some more tea then.
Well,
I pull out
you
the
would have
mushroom
been
liquor.
you would have been given whatever. Oh, you're pulling out that. Okay.
No. Just kidding.
Whatever
I
drink
guess-
that your usual would have been at this place by now is what has been provided. So
Okay.
I do still have a bottle of mushroom vodka, like here in reality, that I bought a year
I
ago.
only want it if it provides the same effects as this one.
Probably not. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I only tasted it.
Playa is there and has dropped you and is having this conversation. And it's like, if you don't mind, what were you trying to get out of them or sell to them or whatever?
We're trying to get some history out of them, mostly.
Knowledge for knowledge.
Yeah, some of them can be tight-lipped about that. The good thing about elves, though, at least these ones, they really like a good gossip. So if you've got something spicy to sell them, it may not be. And he kind of looks over his shoulder at Bongo, who is busy wiping down the bar for seemingly no reason. Just it's like what he does.
Fair.
Playa
I don't know what would.
looks back over you. He's like, not all things might be official, but the right rumor or bit of spicy gossip in the right ear has been known to aid the occasional applicant.
What would be considered interesting as opposed to merely rude?
I mean, I dropped
it's not
a
always
bomb.
About, I'm not familiar with that reference. It doesn't sound good.
Dropped a fireball. I may have mentioned a name that we were told explicitly by said being to not mention their name.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm not sure how you get around that.
We'll see.
But, and he kind of looks over at Bongo again, who is now like moved on from cleaning the spot on the bar to like rearranging bottles. You should probably talk to Chatty.
Oh yeah.
Chatty knows a lot, so he can probably help you.
Fair. Unrelated. You've been around here for a few years. Is there any place to buy potion components?
Not really.
Yeah, it was worth a try.
I mean, everything that we get, we like have to order for or get off of whatever leftovers that the elves didn't want, and so we have a mixed mash of stuff, but nobody really tries to sell them, at least that I know about, unless they're like rare bits for such things, and then the elves probably snap them up real quick.
Fair. Just seems like there's a lot of waiting around here, and it seemed like something useful I could do with my time, but if I can't, then I can't. So it'll wait till we get back to a different town.
Yeah, well, one thing about being around here is everything moves a lot slower than you're used to. At least when it comes to the elves.
Yes.
Well, when you have so much time on your hands.
That's kind of the deal. Well, enjoy your drinks. If you need anything else, come on up to the bar. And you see Playa goes back up to the bar and kind of like pats Bongo's shoulder, and they begin having a conversation.
Talking about us, aren't they?
Probably. Well, at this point, I don't want to waste too much time here if it's not going to avail to anything, so maybe we could wait it out for another 2. See what happens, if any gossip does stir up. If it doesn't, there might be other avenues we can take.
Here's a fun question. Do we think our friend the Sprite might know Meridian the Fae? Or
We can
know
ask.
of?
I mean, if he visits us at our campfire so frequently, I'm sure we can speak to him this evening. I was thinking that if this doesn't work out, or if it does, but eventually, maybe we should stop by, I almost said Best Buy. Bestville.
Yes.
And since it's a town of hunters trappers, maybe they've heard rumors of a like silver dragon or somebody who is also old and friendly, and probably won't have us beat around the bush so much.
Dragons are scary.
The silver dragon, you're told, is one that's friendly and likes to mingle with humans, as a human.
Okay. Olive is very skeptical.
No, we were told this, I think by Seda, right? Someone told us this.
You have heard this information, yeah.
So that's the only other avenue I can think of right now until something else pops up.
So you spend a bit of time here at the Hopeful Reside, eventually make your way back to your campsite, reset your tent.
Defect, you want to spar?
Let's spar. Need to get some
You
aggression
spar for a little bit. As you're kind of like getting your campfire ready for the evening, Adis, you hear a voice as Paduk pops into existence right in front of your face, kind of his arms like on his hips, like kind of leaning forward, looking like right at your nose, like tip to tip almost, like, well, you beefed it, didn't you?
Wow.
Has he been talking to your healing sprite?
You remind me of someone. Yeah.
Well, you're not the first, if that makes you feel any better. Heard you dropped a big no-no name, though.
Slipped my mind for a moment.
Yeah, word's gotten around pretty quickly.
Why is that such a no-no word?
Well, that particular fella that you're have some dealing with, he got on the bad side of the previous king, and the previous king of the elves is a bit of a iconic figure, so
Ah.
yeah, I don't know
So
all
it's
the
a-
details exactly, but
So he did wrong by one person, so everybody just... gotcha.
well, if it hadn't been the king, and I mean, you don't, I mean, you wouldn't know any of this, but I can probably tell you a little bit of it, and it'll be fine. Like, nobody's gonna get on me about that.
I mean, Meridian didn't explain why we couldn't say his name.
Yeah, that tracks. So, the previous king of the elves was Philanson Ethal. Okay.
Is that who
And-
the marketplace is named for?
Well, no. Ethal was the surname of the royal line of the Verdentious Causeway for millennia, and still is technically. But how much longer? Who knows? But the
Is the
capital.
current king unwell? Or lacks an heir?
No, and there's not really a king. Well, there is a king, but he's not in charge. The queen's in charge. The queen was King Ethel's daughter, or is King Ethel's daughter. I guess, you know. But, well, you see, so King Philanson, right? He, when about 1,000 years ago, when the breaking happened and like all the storms started raging across everywhere, massive devastation all over the place, right? So he declared a war of survival and gathered together all of his like most powerful mages from each school of magic at the Istamaman, and all of the highest archdruids from each city, and the highest clerics of Coralon, because he had a plan to like save the city, or save the causeway, really, right? So they got together and figured something out, and it worked. But such powerful protective magic had a very powerful cost. The 12 assembled magic users all agreed to the king's plan and through extensive ritual and sacrifice and a bunch of magic I don't really understand, managed to set up a ward that defended the entire causeway and repelled all of the storms. That's what the whole thing was, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the magic, but long story short, the king saved everybody, but all of the power, the ritual demanded it all be focused through him as the representative of the entire elven people and the causeway, because he was the king. So it all focused through him. So the king and the 12 assembled magic users all had to give up their lives in exchange for this magic to work. And for an immortal, or pretty much immortal elf to give up their life is a big deal, let alone 13. So the king and his 12, as they're known, are very highly regarded and often cheersed and toasts and stuff at elvish ceremonies. And all the elvish children, such as they are taught about the cost of their safety and longevity. So the fact that your guy got on that king's bad side kind of soured some milk, you know what I mean?
What did he do?
I don't really know that.
Oh. Well.
Did he not like the tea?
I don't know. On some document somewhere, there's a list of entities that are not allowed, and he's one of them.
Unfortunate. Well, we'll see, but we're just gonna kind of wait it out for a couple of days and see where this gossip leads. And if it doesn't help anything or intrigue anybody else, then we're gonna have to take some alternate routes to figure out what's going on.
Well, the good thing is, not everybody... All the elves respect the king and his wishes and all that stuff. But some elves are very curious by nature and very interested in all those things. Like, they may act all stuffy because of protocol and whatever, but they're very curious. So, given time, it might work out for you.
Right. Well, how much time is the question?
Well, if you were an elf, it might be a long time. But the fact that you are not elves is pretty common knowledge, and rumors spread faster than anything among the elves. You'd be amazed how much they spread gossip. I mean, everybody...
How fast can they spread gossip when they take 4 hours to talk about the weather?
I don't know, but I mean, we've all heard about it already, and it happened this morning, right? So
accurate.
That's fair.
I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Well, hopefully it'll work in our favor.
Yeah, you might get a few... There are a few fringe elements on the society that are really pushing for the causeway to open up more, in light of various political leanings or whatever. But yeah, it couldn't hurt to stick around and see what happens.
Well, we'll try to do so. At least for a little bit. We can't waste too much time.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's already starting to spread through Tir Thal.
That's the capital, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, with the big library.
Yep.
Right. How many... You said there's other cities. Are there other cities within the Glen?
Oh, yeah. Well, not in the Glen, but in the Causeway, yeah.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. There's, what are they? Well, there's the city of the West, Kalantor. There's, the city of the North, Thilivern Loss.
I'm not even going to try to write these down.
There's the city of the South, which is Olai Thar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the City of the Heart, which is Emil Othron's. Tirithal is kind of the it's the capital, but it's also the easternmost city. So
is there not
Okay.
a north? Is there not a north city?
there is. That's Thilivern Loss.
So sorry.
Grub.
But yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Tirithal is kind of actually not too far from the Divide River if you like fly by it. But it's, a little harder. And Oyal Thar is actually only like 2 hours away from here.
Okay.
2 hours flying?
Well, for me, yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe a little longer for you people walking. Not that you'd get there.
Right.
If given the chance, I'm sure we would do fine in the forest. If given the chance.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I mean, first there's the Sprite Guard.
No, I'm saying like if it was opened to us.
If it were permissive, if
you were escorted there, then yeah, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
'Cause
forest
if
doesn't
we
like
can walk
intruders
through-
itself, so
That's fair. I mean, I'm just saying, if we can make it through the glimmering void, I'm sure a stroll through the forest would not be as bad.
well, not if you're invited.
Right.
If you
So
try
the forest doesn't like intruders itself. Is the forest
it's
alive?
It's an old ancient forest. A lot of magic here.
I'd love to go in there.
someday.
Remember
Maybe.
that time that bush just kept chasing us? I don't really want to do that again.
Cue the Benny Hill theme song.
Yes. Greg has difficulties with landscaping.
Yeah.
Well,
We-
the treants are pretty nice most of the time, but
We encountered one that was guarding an ancient place, and it sent a bush to try to kill Grig.
oh, well,
That's
that's the way it goes
Shrubbery.
sometimes. They're generally pretty nice, but if you piss them off, they'll whack at you.
Yeah.
We are quite skilled at pissing beings off, so
There's this other time that we were in the desert, and Grig wanted to go poke a blue cactus that then grew tentacles and snatched Grig.
That sounds
It was
like a
very
fun
blue.
time.
And then Grig just did not
Wasn't
like
actually a
plants
cactus,
anymore.
to be fair.
Oh, was it?
It looked like it. No, it looked like one. I don't know what it is though.
it's dead now, right?
Oh yeah,
Well, that's
it's dead.
Sounds really cool. I'd love to see one someday. Wouldn't want to get
Yeah,
close
if you-
to it, but
If you want to go into the desert, not my favorite place.
I mean, why not? Never been.
Sand.
A
Although
lot
you'd
of
although you wouldn't be as bad trudging through it because you wouldn't be on foot.
Yeah, and he points to his wings and he kind of flutters.
Can I have a set of those? Thank you.
I mean, there's probably magic that can do that, but I don't know it.
I can do that.
There you go.
I mean, I can do this, and I'll summon my snotty spirit to meet the pixie.
All right.
Right.
You summon it, and it's like, yes, what can I do for you?
This is, I look at Paduk. This is my rude healing sprite.
They look at each other up and down, and then they both look back to you, and they're like, okay. And your sprite is like, what, are you replacing me? I've done nothing but make you feel good.
Physically, emotionally is another question.
I am not responsible for your emotional well-being. Don't you know I... And he's gone. So you... Okay, so you just summon a Fey spirit and he just takes that form, right?
I don't know why he took that form, but he took it.
I mean, aesthetically, like I kind of get it. Like you know,
He is
it
kind of cute.
compliments you.
Yeah, it's just the heels he slaps or kicks.
But he does heal.
Yeah. Just doesn't make you feel good inside, though.
Well, medicine doesn't always taste good, you know?
Oh, we know from the good berries.
Good berries are delicious.
I think we all avoid them if we have to.
I
If we
mean,
can.
as far as I understand them, you can make them taste like whatever you want.
Really?
So
I
if you're not making them taste good, I think that's on you.
What?
I'm gonna pop another handful. And I'm gonna I don't know what's a fruit in this land. Are there strawberries?
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna make them taste like strawberries. I'm gonna give one to Greg. Greg,
Whoa, 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 whoa. Why am I trying this?
Because you're like Mikey. You'll eat
It's for-
anything.
it's for
No.
science.
What?
He just told me I can do something that I didn't know I could do, so here, try it.
What? But I'm more of a. I usually just like take the note and.
I like have my hand held out with the berry.
Not eating all of them.
No, it's a berry.
Take one, sniff it, little lick. What's it supposed to taste like?
Strawberries?
Did you like those? Take a little nibble and just like.
So you chew it, and you're used to this like astringent flavor when you bite these things. But it is like a burst of a fresh summer strawberry.
Got any more?
Uh,
I
you
don't
swallow,
think we
and
should-
your stomach is now full.
Aw, dang it. Why'd I do that? That was really. Can I have another one?
Here. I don't think we'll need them. And I just hand Greg the other 9. Greg gains 10 pounds in the morning.
Yeah, I feel like Greg would make it through like another 1 or 2 and be like, oh.
And this is how Greg develops an eating disorder, which is not funny.
No.
A very specific good berry.
Is that lesser restoration or therapy?
I mean,
don't-
it depends on if Greg tries to eat more of these berries or not.
I just had a few. We're fine.
You had
I
a
couldn't-
few. Make a Constitution saving throw.
I could enlarge them.
Yeah, I
with
said I
that.
ate like 3 of them.
All right, make a Constitution saving throw, please.
Great. Doing that.
Would it help if I enlarged them?
Oh,
Nat
no.
1.
Oh,
Vomit everywhere.
So you have eaten the first one. You pop 2 more in your mouth and swallow it, and immediately projectile vomit. This
All over
volume
the Sprite.
of stuff you didn't even know. It goes all over you, all over the ground. Defect, who you're standing next to, gets a little bit of splashback, and like and you like bring your head up and immediately slip in the vomit and fall into it. You are coated in good berry puke.
Nice.
Is there a place I can get a bucket of water?
Is there a bathhouse around these parts?
There's a well right over there. That was both horrifying and hilarious.
Greg is chuckling and wiping their face.
I'm sure you have another story to tell. I'm gonna go get a bucket of water.
You go off. Paduk kind of hangs out for a little bit more and then departs for the evening.
Oh my god.
Defect, as you are kind of helping Greg to
Cleaning
clean
myself
themselves up, you hear something in your brain.
what do I hear?
You hear, Defect. Please relay this to the party. I'm sorry I left without goodbyes. Urgent mission from Farlane.
Oh.
I'll explain more later. Miss you all. In Spoot's voice.
Yeah, no.
You can reply.
You can reply to this
Yeah, can I
message.
reply?
Yeah, sending, you get one
Yeah.
25-word reply.
Yeah, you know how it works. You've been told.
That's right. In my excitement, I say, Spoot, so glad to hear from you. You won't believe what's happening here in town. We're in a fierce battle of talking with this person, and we don't know how to progress.
And it cuts out.
I know. Beep.
Defect keeps talking to himself, and we're just like,
Yeah,
You see Defect just like counting out words.
Adis, you definitely noticed this.
Yeah, I do relay the message though, and I say, guys, Defect or Spoot is good. He's alive.
I'm glad he's alive.
That's
a good start.
Did you tell him like that we're doing this and about the vomit? Because I think Spoot would think that was kind of funny.
Spoot would be
think he got the
concerned.
message. I was going there. Then I felt a sharp disconnection from him, but I think he got the message.
Good. Oh God, the air just turned on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. All good. Well, what an eventful evening. The evening continues on. You can all go to bed, get a nice rest in. You wake up the following day, and when you first exit the sorry.
Whoa.
Change of view. When you exit, whoever exits the tent first, you see a familiar figure kind of sitting on a stump by where your fire was. And it is Chatty. It is the half-elven Charzarian Erasmus Conbastus Trepoli.
I'm not saying that.
That's okay. He goes by Chatty.
Hey, Chatty.
Well, proper good morning to you all. How are you today?
Lovely weather we're having, isn't it?
Aye, today seems to be a fine early fall afternoon. You know what I mean? Heard y'all had a bit of trouble at your meeting yesterday, huh? Sad bit of news, that.
Yeah, I dropped a name I forgot I shouldn't.
Oh, we all make mistakes. To err is human, after all. And he kind of winks.
To R is the pirate.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's an Adis original. Yeah, so we spoke to Baduk last night, and he apparently all the sprites already know.
Well, if I've
So
heard
word is
about it,
spreading
everybody's
fast.
heard about it. Oh, that it has. It's not often such a... I don't want to go quite so far as to say a forbidden name is brought up, but certainly one that's a bit on the no-no list, if you know what I mean.
We've heard that.
Why, the elves, they're a bit stickly about protocol and such thing, at least officially anyway. But unofficially, they are ravenous of curiosity and for gossip, and so this bit of spicy news has made its way quickly through the digestive tract of the gossip community, if you understand my meaning.
Seems
What is-
so.
What are they saying about us besides that we said a no-no name?
Well, not only that you said a no-no name, but that you seem to be involved with him and be asking about certain bits of lore and forgotten doodads and whatnot. A few shiny things, perhaps?
Yeah, at least there have been things pointing towards, as Meridian said, shadows on the horizon.
You said no name again.
Indeed. I'd be careful about throwing that one around. Given that we're all friends here, I'm not much of a stickler.
The man in the green cloak.
I honestly, for your own benefit, if you want to be getting anywhere, I'd just leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
Now, that all being said, I happen to be knowing a certain individual who'd take an interest in hearing what you have to say, regardless of how politically uncouth it might be seen to be seeing you.
Well, we are nothing if not uncouth.
Something I can appreciate with the best of them, I assure you.
That feels factual.
We are the misfits.
Mm-hmm.
And a proper name was never said. Now, what you be needing to understand here is, in certain academic circles, information is information, and having it is good to have. And that includes dire warnings from reliable or unreliable sources. Even if it's not considered proper, it's good to know that it's been said. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That being the case, I have a pen pal who might be of interest in getting to know you.
Doesn't
Okay.
involve us needing to write in Elvish, does it? Because we can't.
Oh, no.
Boot was the only one who could do that, and he's gone.
Oh, no. I can handle the introductions. But, such an endeavor, not getting noticed in such things, it's a bit
How
of an
much is it
undertaking.
going to cost?
Oh, you cut me to the quick, Atis. I'm just merely trying to do a practical bit of aid for you.
No, it's greatly appreciated, but just one going through so much to aid us, it deserves some sort of compensation.
Oh, well, greasing the proper hands and making sure things get where they need to go is an expensive process, you understand, especially below the radar, as it were. Which, I don't know what a radar is, but it sounds like something you don't want to be on.
Olive's going to make some crappy tea from her orcish spices,
Oh, not
because
this.
that seems to be how things are done.
Sure.
Let's skip that morning tea.
But that being said, I think an investment of 25 gold will be more than enough to make sure the proper introductions are had.
Party fun? I'll just give it to him because I fucked up the first time.
Okay. You pass it over, and he puts it into a unseen pocket in his cloak. Ah, well.
Olive is going to pour him some really shitty tea and stare at him while he drinks it or not.
Yeah, you put it next to him as he's
She's
putting
very
the gold
passive-aggressive
away.
tea.
Yeah. Well, that is certainly an interesting bit of tea you've made there, my friend Olive. Unfortunately, I've had a bit of a big breakfast, and I'm a bit full up for the moment. But I do appreciate the offer. Now,
Rejected.
as for this introduction, it may take a moment or two to get things sorted out, so I hope you don't mind sticking around. Maybe a day or so.
Another
Sure,
day.
why not?
You have to understand, to get in... Obviously, I live my life here in the Verdenton Glen. Getting it to where it needs to go takes a bit of a moment. But if all goes well, you should be able to get there right lickety-quick.
Well, I hope this works out.
Oh, I can guarantee that there will be significant interest, especially when, well, I'll let the surprise be the surprise. But don't
Cool.
worry, old Chatty's here for you, as always. And he gets up and twirls his ebony cane, does a graceful little bow, and turns around and kind of saunters away.
Pour Greg some shitty tea, too.
Greg sniffs it. Wisdom check. Does it make Greg not drink it?
Make a perception check.
Perception, great.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, no.
It smells bad.
It smells bad.
Like you've already vomited once in the last like 12 hours.
I think you should up your tea game. Maybe some honey would fix it.
Maybe you could use this to like finish cleaning off your gear there.
Oh, do I still have a thing?
Oh, you do have a couple of spots
Yeah.
right there.
All right. All right. Well, I don't think anybody's gonna attack us here. I guess I could here. I'll take some off and give it a good washing.
All right.
I use the tea to wash off the vomit.
It works surprisingly well. It's almost as if it's like abrasive somehow. It's pretty interesting.
It's some aggressive tea.
Yeah,
All right.
but it works. The vomit is removed. There's a lingering kind of pungency, but
This was not a good idea.
yeah.
I think I have a bottle of Old Spice I can spray you with. Hold on.
Oh, okay. I love that stuff.
The Old Spice is now Rotten Spice, and
Oh no!
so you spend the day kind of cleaning up Greg and whatnot. The next morning, you are all get up and awoken, and Chatty is outside your tent once again.
Morning, Chatty.
Ah, good
Want some-
morning to y'all.
Can I get you some tea?
Ah, thank you, but no, I already had my fill of breakfast this morning. But
No.
if y'all have nothing better
gonna
to
take
do,
your orcish
perhaps
spices
you'd like
away.
to. If y'all have nothing better to do, perhaps you'd like to follow me to a certain area of town that's quite popular these days.
I got
All
nothing
right.
planned. Anyone
Is this
have
the
anything
thing we
guys
paid him
planned?
for?
I hope so.
Okay.
Anyone got any other plans? No. Yeah, we're
Do we
going.
pack up the tent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Greg, the words.
Pot close phone.
And the tent begins its thing. And Chatty hasn't actually seen this before. He's like, well, ain't that a sight? That's quite impressive. Look at it go.
It's very fancy.
It takes a minute.
Yeah. Well, still, it's quicker than doing it yourself, I suppose, and lets you do other things.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
I almost got
And
washed away in a storm.
Oh,
And it's
well, lucky
always
you
warm
found
and
it.
dry inside.
Well, that is worth it alone. Especially in some inclement weather, I imagine.
Yes, we have
And-
encountered quite a lot.
Until it gets
weather.
washed away by a tidal surge. Then it gets a little wet.
Well, I imagine such things are bound to happen in such an instance. But, regardless, now that the tent seems to be all done up on itself, why don't y'all follow me? And he kind of, like, begins walking with his cane kind of tucked under his arm, kind of leading the procession. Walking through town, he waves to everybody, gives everybody a bit of a good morning to you. How are you today? Walking through, just kind of being his amiable self.
Amiable and extremely rude.
Oh well, any elves that he sees, he just does a little like quick bow to and continues on, not engaging them in an I see you contest. So where he brings you is a small, kind of cleared area that is guarded by some elvish guards. And he stops before them and kind of turns to you all. We're just going to have to wait a minute. And you see behind the guards like a bit of a like stone plinth or something on the ground, like a pedestal, like a big like 15-foot pedestal. Like 50 feet wide, like a couple feet off the ground. And you can see there's like carvings in it. It's about like 35 feet away from you.
It's not bloodstained, is it?
Make a perception check.
16.
16? Nah. It's pretty clean, actually, like surprisingly clean.
They clean it with their toothbrush.
And as you're watching, you see the runes begin to light up and glow, and then you hear pop, and popping into view is an elf in very long pink robes. Seems to be male presenting. And he proceeds to walk down off of the platform to the guards, and you hear a conversation in Elvish that you do not understand.
Does he appear to be like corporeal, or are we looking at like a spirit?
Seems real.
What?
Passes after about 5 minutes of conversation, passes a piece of paper over to a guard who is more regaled, who says a few words in Elvish, and the guards kind of step aside. The elf comes through and begins talking with Chatty in Elvish. And after a few more minutes, Chatty turns to you all and says, "My good friends, allow me to introduce Thuriel Sunspire."
Lyriel?
Thuriel.
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 TH, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Thuriel Sunspire. He has expressed an interest in... Sorry?
It's a pleasure to see him.
He has expressed an interest in hearing more about your exploits and endeavors that have been taken, and has invited you to his study. At which point, the Thuriel steps forward and kind of bows. "I see you, Grig and the Misfits."
We see you.
We see you as well.
You too.
I see you.
It is an honor to see you.
You do me too much courtesy.
Trying.
Please, I would be most excited for you to join me in my office today. If you have the availability now, it would be most preferable.
That sounds delightful.
Our availability is now.
Then you should follow me.
Oh, Lord.
And he turns and begins walking past the guards. And Chatty kind of winks at you all and bows out and gestures for you to follow him.
Dear God, I hope this guy speaks common.
He was speaking common.
Thuriel spoke common to you.
Okay, good.
Every elf you've met seems to have the ability to speak common. It's just they don't when they talk to other elves.
Okay. Alright, so we follow the guy.
Yep. Every guard you pass eyes you. You like Adis, you can tell that they are like watching you go with this individual.
Insight check.
Sure, go for it.
Is it curiosity or disdain? 14.
With a 14, it's hard to read behind the armor and the helms and everything. But there's definitely interest there, but you don't get much more than that. So you all...
Okay, put that away.
I didn't mean to do that. That was me clicking on a window. Sorry.
Spell attack, not the time. Olive just declares war.
Fireball.
So you go up to instead of going up to the platform, you kind of go past it, and you see stone archway that has a bunch of runes on it. And
Are they in Elvish?
They are. Or
Okay.
at least in a language you don't understand. You see that there is another elf standing there, or watching it, or whatever. Also in similar style robes, but a very different color, like a deep subdued blue. And he eyes Thuriel up and down and looks at you. And this elf appears much more elfy, for lack of a better term. Thuriel is very kind of casual looking in terms of other elves you've seen. Perhaps he's simply younger. But it's hard to tell with these elves because they live so long. So what is younger?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But he and Thuriel have a conversation. Thuriel produces another document and shows it to him. And he just kind of harumphs in a way and gestures for him to head towards the arch. And the other, the blue-robed elf kind of, once you're all there, kind of mutters in Elvish or some strange kind of tongues language. And the runes begin to... And then a portal appears in the archway. And Thuriel steps right through.
Follow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You, the four of you, follow.
What's it feel like?
It's a weird, like, popping sensation. Like, almost as if, like, not the feeling of a burp, but, like, the feeling right before a burp. Like, it builds, and then, poof, you're there. Just a few moments through this portal, and you appear in a large chamber with multiple archways and platforms. You are on a platform. There are elves scurrying around, and as soon as you all appear, you see every head turn and stare at you. And Thuriel just walks down and keeps walking in a direction.
This is
Follow that elf.
uncomfortable.
Make this space and follow that elf.
Yeah, you all walk the elves. You definitely catch eyes. Outside of the first room that you are in, nobody turns their head, but you can definitely feel like eyes upon you, but nobody stops you. You are led through this room, through a hallway, through like a garden or like a courtyard of some kind that is open to the air, and in through another doorway, and then up a very tight curving staircase that has that same feel of like going up a route or something. Like the building is like a living tree, Olive. Like you can just feel that it is. And you...
Is that comforting?
That's up to you.
Okay.
And so you go up this very tight spiral staircase. And you go up and up and up for a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Just climbing stairs.
Working
Cardio.
those quads.
Yeah.
At what point does defect carry me?
Probably
Most
pretty
likely, yeah.
soon.
I think I should just pick up Greg.
Olive is definitely using her staff.
Yeah. Yeah, Thuriel doesn't seem to be bothered by it, although if you do show like signs of lagging, he like slows his pace a little bit, but he never fully stops. Eventually,
the calves are going to be on fire tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get all the way up, and he opens a door. The first doorway you have come to, but you can see the stairs do continue going. But he opens the first doorway and ushers you through. And you close it behind you, or he closes it behind you after you enter. And you go down this long, kind of organically curving hallway.
Are we in a branch of the tree now?
Who knows? You don't have a frame of reference, really. And you are brought another good, 10 minutes of walking. And then he stops at a door and opens it and gestures for you all to precede him through this doorway.
Do we see anything through the doorway?
Yeah, it looks like an office or something.
Walk in.
So you enter this office, for lack of a better term, and it has a very high ceiling, higher than the hallway, which is a little weird, but very high, stacked with books and tomes and scrolls and little objects. There's a very large desk with piles of paper and books on either side of it. Kind of the middle is clear, but there's piles of stuff kind of on the sides. And there's a table that has papers scattered all over it. It looks like a academic's active workspace. And there's all kinds of magical looking knickknacks. There is a little tinker toy looking machine that's just kind of got a blade spinning around on top of it, that's just kind of hovering above one of the shelves. It's just kind of hovering there.
Greg, don't touch anything.
There's it looks like a not human but humanoid skull, made of a purple metal that has carvings in it, and the carvings are glowing blue. There are small little paper airplanes that are chasing each other up in the ceiling, and kind of like a infinity symbol, just in a figure eight. So there's all kinds of this kind of crap all over the place in this room. And
So it's magical tchotchkes.
Yeah. He shows you all in, closes the door, indicates for you to be seated as you would like to be. He indicates a couple of couches that are set off on one side.
Sit on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
He sits himself in an armchair kind of opposite them with a table between you, like a little coffee table between you. Thank you for coming to see me today. I appreciate that you are not Elvish, and being that I have studied a variety of cultures, I will not be expecting you to maintain civilized behavior here.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank you.
What's that? Pointing at the skull.
A trinket I have unearthed.
It's amazing.
I rather enjoy it myself.
So, we have piqued your interest?
Indeed, you four are quite popular. Well, popular's not the right word. You four have piqued curiosity is probably the more accurate way to say it.
Nefarious, perhaps.
Infamous?
There are certain
the one.
circles that when they hear you have arrived here will be most displeased. Very few outsiders have ever been admitted to Tiri Ethal in the past 1,000 years, and even fewer have been here at the Athenaeum.
Dude.
The Athenaeum, that's the library?
That's the big library.
It is.
Ah, Spoot's gonna be so sad when he's not here.
Oh yeah. Can we look? Is there? Maybe I could try to draw it, and we could show Spoot. Are you good at drawing, Adis?
No.
Do you
This
have
is
like
merely my
pictures that we
office.
could
This is-
buy?
No. This is merely my office. This is not the full Athenium. That's more downstairs and towards the central core.
Well, it is already quite beautiful.
Thank you. It's been growing for thousands of years, so it should be impressive. Hopefully it maintains that impressivity for all generations. Now,
Damn, are we in a branch of the tree now?
that would be a acceptable way to describe it.
It feels very, very tree-ish, very tree-like.
We are in a tree.
Well, Tira Ethal is a city of organic structures and guided buildings. Also, we use a lot of silver in our construction, so
Mm.
Okay.
all of this is fairly irrelevant to why I've asked you to come here today. I understand that you are looking for information regarding some historical context of, well, missing people and perhaps a few other interesting items.
Yes.
True. The missing people are really Adis's story.
Yeah. It's a long story, but we're...
Rumor has it that you are a member of the long-missing Fey Warden.
Indeed I am.
I'm interested to know how you have survived when your people have vanished.
So are we.
No
I-
offense, humans don't live 1,000 years.
We don't.
And you
We
look
don't.
quite young for a human.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that was a
Great,
compliment.
face. I have a youthful complexion. After getting the crap beat out of me so many times, it's a compliment. Yes, I remember a storm. Like the alarms going off at the village, and everything went dark. And then I woke up in a cave, found by someone from the organization called the Seekers.
Fascinating.
My partner woke up 20 years earlier than me. We had also found one of my captains turned to glass, but still able to move, communicate telepathically, but cannot see, hear.
This glass captain had the ability to communicate telepathically?
No. If we speak to him, like Grig can use what's that spell?
I cast message and say to Thuriel, if I do this, he can answer.
I understand.
And he could talk telepathically to the...
Well, I'm assuming Randy's using the same magic.
Randy?
Some half elf
Yeah,
we
the
ran
plot
into.
thickens.
He's a scorpion.
Yeah, he was a half elf from Ningwa that somehow is a scorpion. We're working on that one too.
We have met
Fascinating.
quite a few interesting beings in this
Indeed,
journey.
you have. I find it quite fascinating. And Adis, you notice that there is a quill on his desk that is furiously moving on its own.
Oh, this is totally the reporter lady from the Goblet of Fire. She has like the
Oh my god, I love it. Rita Skeeter the elf.
Yeah, that's a whole separate issue that is not really as pressing, but we
Yes.
promised we'd help.
Well, quite frankly, our time here is probably quite limited. Once word gets around, and it will get around quite quickly that you are here in my office, you will probably be asked to leave very quickly. I doubt the king and queen, mostly the queen, would appreciate your being here as much as I do.
All right then.
That's fair.
So
Let's get down to business.
to get to the
Indeed.
short of it, we were tasked by Meridian, who has been subtly pushing us.
The no name again.
I'm
Shit.
familiar with the individual, and I am not concerned with political intrigues. I care only for, well, I care for many things, but political intrigue is not one of them.
He told us that he sees shadows on the horizon, something to deal with the Ibn.
Ah, the Ibn. Yes.
As well as this
We call
criminal.
the darkness the Ibn Shade.
Yes.
Unfamiliar
And
with Ibn Shade, but I do know what the Ibn is.
right. And then there was a criminal organization called the Red Crows that we were dealing with in a town. And then we ran into them in the Glimmering Void again, or at least one of their members, taking one of the shards from the storms from a sorcerer who lives out in the Glimmering Void.
They're criminals of a far more mundane nature. Like, they just came in with,
I mean, we thought they were mundane, but if they're hunting down the shards, there might be something more at play.
Yes. But they took them by physical force, not by sorcery.
Well, he beat him up with magic, I'm assuming. But
do you know who the Ibn is? Or who they were, I should say?
They were the people trying to control the stones. They infused like ley line energy into it. So it shattered.
That is what they did, but you don't actually know who they were, do you?
Like,
no.
what their names were? No.
Even beyond that, the Ibn were the brotherhood of all mages that existed over 1,000 years ago. Every magic user wanted to be an Ibn. The Ibn had powerful connections, access to materials, knowledge, everything that a magic user could want, the Ibn had, and all they required was complete and utter loyalty to their ends. They had no political machinations. They sought knowledge and power for its own sake. This can potentially be very dangerous, you understand. But also, it can be benign. It's all in what you do. Power and knowledge are benign on their own. It's what you do with those things that determine their veracity.
Right.
No.
But
okay, well, the thing we know is that the people seeking it now are definitely bad. So the doing will be bad.
For these Red Crows, I'm unfamiliar with them.
I mean, we thought they were some low-time criminals. We beat them out of the city of Fay Harbor. But
they enslaved my entire town.
This Fay Harbor is your town?
No.
No, a smaller town. But their headquarters was in Fay Harbor. We beat them out of it. And then we ran into them again in the Glimmering Void, taking said shards. So I'm assuming they didn't come across this knowledge of the shards. By I don't know, by their own means. It doesn't seem like something they would had known about.
Yeah, they kind of seem like they're the muscle for somebody else, and we're sort of interested in finding out who this somebody else is in the interest of making their lives difficult.
I see. I see your
They're
concern.
making us everybody else.
Or short, preferably.
You see he does a little like wave of his hand, and a tome comes off of the shelf, or off of his desk rather, and kind of floats over to him. And he like picks it up and leafs through it. This shard that this wizard had, do you know what it was? Was it an actual shard, a fragment, or was it embedded in an item of some kind?
It was a ring called Variety.
Ring called Variety, I see. And he flips
a few
yellow pages. Yes. Yes, Variety. Last known location in the possession Yes. Of one Fluxus?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is no longer in his possession, I regret to tell you.
Well, that's neither here nor there, really.
Well, you can update your record.
It is good to know. This note was passed along about 17 years ago, so.
Well,
Do
as of
you
a
have
few
notes
weeks
about
ago,
where other ones are? Because I should tell you that the one that's in the vampire creature that was in the tomb, that one is not there anymore.
I'm unfamiliar with a vampire creature in a tomb.
Oh.
That was so the
It was red.
scourge wardens. Um,
ice something.
no.
No? Okay.
The
Well,
coyotes.
The coyotes. They had they came across a red shard and were trying to make something to try to stop the storms. However, they were overwhelmed by a storm and the creatures that it summoned and teleported part of their people, the last of their people, to the astral sea, which I was able to locate the building in the sea, but I don't know if there's anybody still there. I can't see that well.
Hmm.
I could try to show you if you'd like.
No, I believe you. Let me look through my notes here. And he calls up another couple of tomes kind of float over to him. And he begins looking through them. Here we are. The Wolf Nation, yes?
Yes.
Let's see. You mentioned the which tribe? The
Coyote.
Coyote.
tribe. Capital of Lytral.
Yes.
According to this, Lytral was the last tribe that remained during the breaking times.
Mm-hmm.
And sources report that the village was indeed swallowed by the earth and taken miles from where it once rested.
Yeah, it was underground, and we found a laboratory where they had embedded the red shard into a creature, or was a human.
An interesting idea, using a shard, or using a fragment of a shard in such a manner. Fascinating. The idea holds potential and merit.
I will say it turned him into something
Unexpected?
unexpected, violent, tried to eat Greg.
Unpleasant.
It was awful. He was
They-
sneaky and mean and awful and made little vampire creatures and was the worst.
And
I'm
spawn.
really sad we didn't kill him. Well,
We
all the
killed-
way.
we-
We tried to kill him.
No, we killed him. We didn't kill the little foxes.
Wasn't there a spawn? A vampire spawn thing?
Yeah, he got away.
Yeah.
Well, all that being considered, the vampire will probably be taken care of at some point or another by someone. I'm more interested in this usage of a fragment. Using a fragment requires, well, I suppose given the time frame, they couldn't have known how the fragments really operated.
Mm-mm.
No.
Well, I do have information that I believe will satisfy you on both parts. We have had 1,000 years to watch the rest of the continent as it changed, as people created certain things. And I think I can offer you some information. All I ask in return is that you keep track of everything you do concerning this Ibn Shade, every bit of information you find, and give it back to me. as you can tell, and he indicates the various papers and notes and tomes, I'm a bit of a history buff. So solving some of these mysteries, continuing on their legacies, keeping track of those records, it's kind of what I do, and I'm a big fan of it.
I mean, anything that can help. So much has been lost.
I mean, Spoot's the one that's good at like journaling and stuff, but yeah, we'll keep track and tell you things. How do we tell you? Do we have to come back here? Do we get to come back here?
Well, here. One moment. And he gets up and kind of goes over to one of the shelves and pushes a few books aside and kind of reaches behind them and pulls out another book and passes it over to you as a group. This journal will retain any information you speak into it.
Ooh. It doesn't bite, does it?
No, why would it bite?
We've run
That was
into
a thing we found.
we ran into books that like to fly around and attack you.
Ah, I see. Well, this book does not do that. However,
Very good.
this book I would appreciate it if extraneous information could be kept out of it. I'm only interested in knowing any aspects of any fragment items you might find, any thing about the Ibn, this Ibn shade. All of these machinations you're talking about are very interesting. All of that I would be quite keen on knowing.
Understood.
However, if you meet an interesting bard, I don't care about what he's saying or had for dinner, if you understand.
That's fine. Bards are the worst.
They have their uses at times. Now, do we have an agreement?
Yes.
Sure.
Excellent. And he extends his hand. Is one of you going to take it?
Greg
Sure.
takes it. Shakes it.
Oh yeah, Greg is the leader.
Cool. As you shake his hand, spiraling energies come off of his arm and twist around yours, and kind of and the energies spread over your body, and then back to the grasped hand. Ah, very well.
What was that? What did you just do? That was awesome. That was magic. It was definitely magic. I know magic when I see it. What was it? Is it have a name or is it just a thing that you do?
It's a binding agreement.
Nice. So how do we get the book back to you?
I'm sure you can figure that out. Now, the good thing is you have 5 years to figure all this stuff out before anything happens.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
5 years.
If this book is not returned within 5 years, the agreement will begin to edge upon Grig here, and Grig will slowly begin to lose their capacity to function.
Oh.
And if
Cool.
I do not give you the information I have promised, the same will happen to me.
Interesting.
All right. So return the book or Greg gets it.
Well, I wouldn't put it so
Basically.
crudely, but you have to understand,
Is
I am entrusting foreigners who I barely know with information that I have been accumulating for my life to bring me back new information that my normal sources are not capable of procuring. So I need to
Fair.
protect my investment.
It's fair.
That makes sense. Are you
I
gonna
think so.
keep in touch with us if you learn new stuff too?
I'm a history buff.
Sure,
everything I know
sure.
is
You have
hearing
sources though, you just said. Okay, so it's like we have 5 years to bring you this book back with info in it.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, it's not like a back and forth type deal. It's a do this job and come back or die.
Well, I wouldn't say you'd die. You would just
Okay,
cease
like,
to
wither.
operate. Well, I'm sure that will not come to pass.
I'm not, but that's,
I
that's how it
wouldn't
goes.
worry about it. 5 years is plenty of time for you. And
Like a
you
pretty good
see
long
that he
time.
kind of like stops himself after he says, as though he was going to say something else, but he stopped himself. Adis,
Yeah.
you definitely pick up on it. Now, I believe I owe you some information. First of all, concerning the Wolf Nation, Adis, you should know that during the breaking, the entire continent was affected, except for the Verdentious Causeway. We employed some magics that were quite costly, but successful in their warding of our lands.
Right.
According to various sources and information we have gathered over the last 1,000 years, this book deals with the Wolf Nation and the Plains Wardens organization that stemmed from them. Your village of Lycos was the first lost, and was reportedly, I'm sorry to say, scoured from the landscape along with half of the Everwood. Some few survivors were reported, but they were lost in the confusion of the early breaking. No one was able to really keep a track on them. So it is quite possible there are Lycosian descendants out there.
Do you know where the land went? Where the other half of the wood is?
The other half of the Everwood was subsumed in, well, some volcanic activities a few decades later.
Do you know where on the new continent it used to be?
Well, if I was going to use the previous location of the Everwood, it would be approximately where the Withered Pines is. However, that is not where Lycos, or the last half of the Everwood, was reported seen. The Everwood was last reported in what is now a bit of an island nation, an archipelago off of the Fertile Melts, over in the east.
Okay.
Now, that would bring us to Libren, which was the home to the tribe of the Winter Wolf in the north. It was apparently buried beneath a glacier that rampaged through the town very quickly, scattering survivors to all four corners, and is buried beneath ice somewhere north of the iced path.
Okay.
Lyson in the east, the home of the Fox tribe, was torn apart by mounting eruptings beneath it. These mountains have now become what is known as the Barricades. Rumors do persist that there are some descendants living among these mountains in the Barricades in various states of civility. As for Lyrian, the home of the Jackal tribe in the former south, it was swallowed by the ocean itself, and we believe it now lies somewhere beneath the Boiling Strait, which is a bit south of the current location of the scorched, or of the arid wastes.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, you know what happened to Lytrol.
Yeah.
I'm sorry the outlook is bleak, but it does appear that there may be survivors or descendants of survivors out there somewhere on Johanna.
Found 2 others so far, so
So it
it's a little
seems
bit
like
of
you
hope.
should not give up hope. I do hope you find what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Now, you are interested in these shard-touched items, right?
Mm-hmm.
I happen to know of a few through various communiques and codexes that I have had access to. And he goes back to the first tome and opens it up. The last reported location of a fragment of the Mind Shard is in the Crown of the Fallen Imperials, which is supposedly still within the fallen city of Ozmag, somewhere in the swamps of Lograil.
Mm-hmm. That's where Spoot's from.
I wouldn't know. There is purportedly a beyond this variety that you mentioned, there is a fragment of the Sway Shard in an ascot pin. That once
what?
in an ascot pin.
Oh, ascot pin. Okay.
A brooch. A brooch.
Yes. Okay.
Tie-tack.
Tanner's brain was like, what?
It apparently once belonged to a merchant from Laurenton, but has vanished fairly recently. The last known possessor of it was a merchant named Chelter Fullarder. I have two possible items containing a fragment of the Surge Shard. The first is embedded in a warhammer called the Leveler and is somewhere in a dwarven outpost in the outcropping. That's the best information we have on the subject. The other is in a very obvious location. It's in the city of Winton, in a belt belonging to a dragonborn champion of their fighting arena.
Does this sound familiar at all?
Make a history check.
Uh, 14.
With a 14, Greg, you have heard of a few dragonborn champions in the arena. So, it's possible. Now, the blue purge shard is a little more interesting. I only know of two items.
The what shard?
The purge shard.
Purge.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it's the blue one.
Sure.
The first one is a weapon that is being held by the Guardian of Soulmount. The second is some semblance of a shield that is embedded within a glacier, the Pacifist Glacier, which is very far north, beyond the Iced Pass, somewhere in the White Wastes. The Drain Shard, there are two items. One is being held by the Lords of the Asmodeal Crucible, which is quite unhospitable. The other is held by a lord in Barteria under the name Valruga, which is indeed that archipelago I mentioned earlier.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, in what? Belruga?
In Barteria.
Barteria. Wow.
In the possession of a man or creature or person named Valruga.
Aha.
As for the Null Shard, there are reports that a fragment is embedded within Pon Kanran at the bottom of the Lake of Eels. And there is rumor that an object known as Spell Piercer is buried somewhere in the grove of embering elms.
Spell Piercer.
I don't have an exact location, but
All right.
that's what I know.
Okay, so like on a scale of like 1 to 10, how likely is it that someone else will know about any of these? Or like which ones would someone be easier to have an easier time finding out about? Like which ones are they going to go get? They clearly knew about the Fluxus one and they went and got that.
If these red crows, as you call them, are searching them out, it is highly possible they will. Well, it depends. I don't know what they know. If they have information about the shards like we do, I imagine they would go to whichever ones are closest or easiest to obtain. That
Fair.
could be a. That could mean you could be involved in a time ticking arms race, or it could mean that they don't have, or it could be that they don't have information and they got lucky on that one.
Here's a thing that was posited when we were talking to Fluxus. Is there a way magically that someone could sense or track these shards, or is it
Well,
like do they
yes.
do they light up? Are they a beacon of some kind?
They're not a beacon, but if you have sufficient skill and familiarity with an item, you are able to scry on them. However, just attempting to scry on any random shard fragment will not work.
It's not like they call creatures to them of any kind or something like that.
There is no definitive evidence for that. I wouldn't rule it out of possibility, especially if a fragment is not imbued within an item, or a creature, such as in the case of Pon Kanra.
Pon Kanra is a creature?
Pon Kanran is a creature rumored to be a creature that dwells at the bottom of the Lake of Eels.
Aha.
But it's largely suspect in its veracity.
I see.
Much more likely it is simply an object that people thought was a creature.
Describe it as a potentially mythical creature.
Indeed.
Very well. I mean, we like eels.
Boot liked the eel. I didn't like it very much.
Fair.
Well,
this is certainly a lot of useful information.
Well, I do try to live up to my end of bargains. And I look forward to everything you will find and discover.
Yes, me too. This is a lot to take in.
Yes, my condolences once again, Adis. I do I do empathize with your predicament.
Empathize?
Yes.
I do have one question I don't know if you know the answer to. We have, on our journeys, encountered my tribe's old wayfinding runes that are linked to portals to the other realms.
Yes.
They don't work so well.
A lot of them are fairly broken, and I've tried fixing them to no avail. I don't know if you guys have anything on how to set them more stable.
He flips through the second book that had your tribal information in it. There have been attempts made to rectify some of the wayfinding runes that were discovered. Most of them we don't have access to. We can't find them, but a few of them became visible to us and our agents over the course of 1,000 years of spell destruction.
Right.
We had very little luck stabilizing them. After a few mishaps, we created the standing orders that if any were discovered, that they should be quarantined or destroyed.
That's fair. Okay. I didn't know if you possibly had anything on that.
Unfortunately, your tribe was very selective in keeping the ability to sense these things to themselves.
Well, yeah, that's where this comes in. And he just taps his face.
Yes, about that. I think if you are able to return here in the future and gain a more official invite, you should ask to see the Lake of Golden Falls. It's quite beautiful.
Foals, as in baby horses, or falls?
Falls, Golden Falls. The Lake of Golden Falls.
And that's here in.
It is within the causeway.
Is it? But is it here within Tirithel?
Not so much.
Okay.
Interesting. Alright, well. We have a lot to think about now.
5 years suddenly seems like a short time.
Yeah, it does.
I am
Well-
sure you are quite capable of handling such things. Especially if these red crows of yours are also searching for these items.
Yeah.
You all seem
Just-
quite capable and quite energetic to me.
It's just picking a direction which will yield the most possible benefit.
I understand. Well, I think it is time for you to return to the Glen.
That's probably true. Are you going to get in, like, trouble, or do you think you're immune? Because usually
As-
people get in trouble.
As a researcher of history, I am perfectly within my rights to take advantage of a living artifact such as Atis, as it pertains to the relation of my studies.
Cool.
Hey, that Adis, you're an artifact now.
You are old. I mean,
I-
comparatively. Not compared to you, Thuriel. I mean, Sir Thuriel? Lord?
You may call me Thurio.
Thanks.
Now,
Well,
shall we
this
be
has
off?
been quite enlightening. Thank you.
Indeed.
Someday, will you tell me about that skull if we make it back? Because I want to know where you found it.
I am sure you do. This way.
Ugh.
And he gets up and opens the door and indicates for you to precede him out.
No guards, right?
No?
Okay.
We get arrested.
I know, right?
We
So you exit,
We leave.
and he closes the door. He waves his hand and kind of mutters a few words, and Adis, you hear a light click. And then he leads you back down this meandering hallway for about 10 minutes. His demeanor has totally changed now that he has exited the office. It's much more like straight and officious. And leads you back down the spiraling staircase for 15 minutes, through the courtyard, through the halls, back to the room with like the multiple archways and pedestals, goes up to one of the archways, presents the, for lack of a better term, the mage who is there, with a letter or a piece of paper. She reads it, and she does a few words and incantations. The runes glow, light up, and a portal appears. And Thuriel indicates that you should go. He bows to you and says, "It has been an enlightening experience to learn from you on this day, Adis."
And you as well. And if one possibly hears of the existence of more of my people,
It would be a great honor to reunite missing family members. Go in the grace of stars and sun.
Melora be with you, and I'll walk through the portal.
Greg does an awkward, fancy bow and goes through the portal.
Olive just bows and follows.
Defect grunts. Just
Sounds about right.
You go through the portal, and that same kind of quick, like, popping sensation, and you are on the plinth at the Verdenton Glen that you first saw Thuriel appear on. The guards are there. Some of them see you reappear, and they automatically like form an opening for you to pass through, and like it's like a guarded like alleyway, like obviously indicating that you should just walk between them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
you.
None of them speak to you. You go through, and you are back in the Verdenton Glen.
We should go back to our campsite and have a long talk.
We're not arrested.
We aren't yet.
Yeah. That whole conversation and everything, with the climbing up and down, probably took about 3.5 hours.
Cool. Time for a drink.
We still have plenty of other cities we can get arrested in.
Yeah, I just
Sure.
mean by the elves, because it was looking grim for a minute.
That's fair.
Yeah, which means it's about noon at this point.
Okay.
A little
Not
earlier than that, but yeah.
They are early risers here.
Lunch and a drink.
Elves only need 4 hours of meditation.
Yeah,
every
I was
night.
about to say, when they only need to sleep 4 hours.
And they
Right.
live like forever here, apparently. So
All right, guys. I kind of think we should maybe rest up and then get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, we should definitely discuss tonight where we plan on traveling.
Yes, but lunch and a drink first?
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
so
Tea,
you-
perhaps? Anyone for tea?
all the tea, all the tea.
No? All right, let's skip the tea and go get a drink.
All right, yeah, you make your way back to the Hopeful Reside. Have yourself some lunch, a few drinks.
We do not talk about this in the Hopeful Reside.
Okay.
Well, but did you see that? Oh.
Yep.
Playa comes by with food and drinks and kind of drops them off at the table. He's like, "Oh, well, you have a different air around you today."
The weather is so lovely.
Oh, God.
You were right about Chatty.
Yeah. Heard you got to go through the portal. Where'd you go?
To space.
What's that?
Well, it's like the astral plane. It's a land of stars. That's what it felt like, anyway.
You went to a land of stars?
No.
We went to a big tree.
It felt like a land of stars. It was cool.
Private study.
Interesting. Well, any kind of story like that will surely get you a few drinks bought for you by the hopefuls here if you ever feel like sharing. Because rumor mill's starting to spread.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, this is the land of gossip.
I think that's why we want to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. What's Dodge? I've never heard of this city.
Oh, no.
Is it a city?
That's because everyone has left it. It's a ghost town.
Weird. Well, let me know if you need anything. And he kind of goes back to the bar over with Bongo. So you spend your time there, get drink, return to your campsite. You are free to discuss such things. As you kind of set yourself up and get ready for a discussion, you hear a familiar voice, Adis. Well, seems like you guys had a busy day, huh? And Paduke pops into existence.
You could say that.
Yeah, so where are you off to next?
We need to talk about that this evening.
We haven't really decided yet.
Sounds like a good talk. I'm interested.
You want to come?
Maybe.
It'll be adventure.
Yeah, that's kind of why.
Cool.
Which way did Spoot go? He went east, didn't he?
I don't know.
He walked off into the sunrise.
Yeah,
Yeah, none of you know where Spoot went at all.
we weren't there.
He didn't mention it in the note.
Nope.
I don't think he even knows where he's going, so.
Nope.
Fair.
He doesn't. But Paduke just kind of flutters and like sits down on the little stump that he likes to sit down on and goes, well, let's talk about it.
Well, I mean,
First,
Tell
you
us,
have
is
to
there-
swear to secrecy.
is there anything here that we should not miss before we leave?
Probably not.
There's nothing here.
Yeah, I mean,
We've
it's
seen
a
this
trading
entire blend.
outpost. Well,
Well, then, I would imagine that our first destination would be Bestville.
ooh,
Maybe.
Well, let's talk about that. And he kind of leans in, and that's where we're going to end tonight's session of Nuuli Forged.
Yay!
So well done. Despite a beef, you managed to get through some alternate channels and get some information.
Maybe because of the beef.
So much information.
Who knows? Yeah, you met this Thuriel who seemed very amiable to help you, and all it cost you was just reporting your information back.
And possibly dying.
Only for you.
That's fair. I knew it was going to be something like that. Amber knew. Grig was like, I'm in charge.
Fair. But yeah. Well, that's it for tonight's session. Let's go around, everybody. Say goodbyes. Plug anything you would like to plug. Well wishes, whatever. Yeah, and we'll wrap it up. I'll figure out who we're going to raid tonight with the glory of raiding. So yeah, let's start up in this corner here with Defect.
Hey, so I'm Mike. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Cool. Moving on down to Grig.
That's me. I'm Amber, and I play Grig. It's good to be back. Get boosted. Mask up.
Fair.
Yeah. hopping over to Adis.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Cool. And last but most certainly not least, Olive.
Hey, I'm Sarah. I've been Olive. Happy New Year to everybody. Good luck with the wedding to Matt, and that's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next week, and woo-hey!
Great.
Is that the new catchphrase? Woo hey.
Wonderful.
I have nothing intelligent to say, is really what that boils down to.
Hey, that's fair. I am Jared. I've been your Dungeon Master here on Nuuli Forged. Big thank you to Ralphie Codes and Dr. Ape for following us since our last episode. We're going to raid some Dungeon Run. They're playing some D&D over there. We would love to invite everyone to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can catch our old episodes on YouTube. It's all at Nuuli Forged. So come hang out with us. It'll be a good time. We do fun stuff. In the meantime, we will see you all right here, right on Wednesday, right at 7 next week. Much love. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Be kind to each other. And have a good week. That's it. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodles.